So we'll start off, like I said, with a brief history of the ITC. Like, what is the ITC? What is our mission, our purpose, what we do and don't do, why we exist, where IntelliCAD is used, and how does Carlson's support of the ITC actually help you? So, oh, there we go. So what is the ITC? The ITC was founded in 1999. It's the IntelliCAD Technology Consortium, or ITC, as a nonprofit consortium directed by its members to share in the development of CAD technology. So we create an alternative CAD engine and development platform, and it's called IntelliCAD. So note, we're not open source, it's actually shared development. You have to kind of join the club. There's a contract and agreement. Members pay us to actually maintain the source and everything for IntelliCAD. So what is our mission? We create a trusted platform that empowers our alliance of members to develop innovative solutions. And really the key word here is trusted, as the members found their businesses on this platform, so they need to make sure that this platform is going to be there for them. So what is our purpose? Our purpose is to serve our members as directed. So we build a safe, trusted platform. We maintain the technology. We create new technology as directed. And we provide tools and services to advance member development. Of course, there's a lot of resulting intellectual property, so we need to also make sure we protect that. And then we want to ensure that we have open access for all members for future generations to that intellectual property. So what do? Again, we create, license, and support technologies that make it easier for application developers, which is our alliance of members, to create end user products for CAD markets. And we help members do that by providing tools, processes, consulting services for large-scale development that help members bring those CAD products to market. What we don't do, we don't generate profit for shareholders because we don't have any shareholders. We only have members. We don't sell any end-user products, as that would compete with our members, and we don't generate any revenue outside of our membership fees. And basically, we don't do anything that our members don't want us to do because they fund us and direct us. So why do we exist? There's a lot of CAD engines out there. IntelliCAD was originally developed to stop AutoCAD from becoming a complete monopoly for native DWG editing. This was back in the late 90s when IntelliCAD originally was created. The first shipment, it was IntelliCAD 98. And other platforms continually compete with their partners by creating competitive solutions. Once you're on a CAD platform, and this happened to my company as well. I had a company with a solution, and Autodesk decided to get into that market, and so I was pushed aside and no longer a dealer or a third-party developer. So when CAD platforms do that, it really pushes them to come work with IntelliCAD because we're an open platform. And basically, if major CAD vendors treated their partners and users well, then the ITC really would have never been created. So where is IntelliCAD used? The big thing I always hear from people is like, well, I've never heard of IntelliCAD. Well, we don't actually ship any end user products. And that's why, if you have heard of IntelliCAD, it's kind of a miracle in a way, because there's not really just like a single IntelliCAD product. It's a platform. But our membership products, maybe you've heard of Carlson, of course, BricsCAD, SolidWorks, ZWCAD, GStarCAD, MicroSurveyCAD, FrameCAD, ArcAdCAD, TrueCAD, BlueCAD, RightCAD, StabiCAD, CMS, IntelliCAD, ProjeCAD, Cadian, TurboCAD, 4MCAD, ArcadiaCAD, Bacticad, SolidWorks. These are all IntelliCAD alumni. So how does Carlson's support of the ITC actually help its users? How is it helping you? So they support this alliance of rebels, the ITC team, who is working to help CAD developers deliver affordable solutions to users like you. IntelliCAD-based products have freed millions of users and billions of engineering drawing files from a monopoly. IntelliCAD-based products have increased competition, reduced pricing, increased innovation, and leveled the playing field for third-party CAD developers. So unlike other CAD engines, as an open consortium, we foster innovation and interoperability rather than block it. So without the technology from the ITC and our sister organization, the Open Design Alliance, most of the competing alternative CAD engines that I actually showed on that previous slide wouldn't even exist today. So no matter what CAD engine that you're using today, whether it's AutoCAD or BricsCAD or IntelliCAD, whoever, the ITC has helped reduce costs and increase innovation in all CAD markets, which are benefits for all CAD users. So where is IntelliCAD today? Our latest release is IntelliCAD 10. It's a 64-bit Windows version that runs on Windows 10, 8, and 7. We have new geometry libraries, new graphics, of course, native, as Jennifer was mentioning, native DWG editing. We can open files all the way back from 2000 to 2021. We also have native DWG editing now with, excuse me, a DWG version. It's DGN version 8. Dynamic input is one of the new features that we have. We also have support for Revit and IFC underlays, new architectural objects, new import types, and many other additional features and bug fixes. So let's take a look here. Just going to start up. This is going to be Carlson 2021. And as you can see, it starts up here with the IntelliCAD splash screen because it is based on IntelliCAD. And I'm just going to open up a drawing file here. And what I want to start off with first, just kind of go through the user interface a little bit so you can see what this looks like and sort of compare it a little bit to AutoCAD. And one of the first things you'll notice when I bring this up is that with Carlson 2021, it has all of these Carlson solutions that are in here. So it has survey, civil, hydrology, GIS. So there's all these different solutions that Carlson actually has running on top of IntelliCAD. But I just want to kind of cover the basics. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to flip this over and just go to the basic Carlson menus, which is the typical kind of IntelliCAD menu system. So we can just sort of look at the basics like a comparison to generic AutoCAD. So let's take a look at the user interface here and you'll see. So we have very similar things that you're used to seeing. You've got your app menu and you can look at some of the things that we can import, STL, IGES, DXF files, DGN, OBJs, different types of file formats that we can export. We have a lot of different things that we can attach. If you're interested in attaching images, you may think, well, do they have enough image types there? We have a few image types that we support. I don't know how many that is. We've got also the tools that you need for publishing your drawing files, drawing utilities like audit, recover, purge, overkill, and digital, support for digital signatures, your typical options that you've got. You notice here that we have the ribbons, but you go, well, I really don't like the ribbons. I'm kind of a menu bar kind of person. Well, you can run with the menu bars if you want to as well. You can run, switch back to the ribbon here. Let's say, well, sometimes I like the ribbon, sometimes I like the menu bar. Well, you can run them both at the same time if you want to, which I kind of prefer the ribbon. Now, I used to be, I'm old school, so I was really used to the menus and toolbars. And so I always ran with that. But I really like the contextual menus now that are in the ribbons. So I've kind of moved over to the ribbons finally, but I'm pretty old school. So we also have our toolbars that you can see here, tool palettes, which are great. Properties pane, which also has a nice filter here as well for the entity types. We've got your command bar. So you can type in all these commands from the command line. Obviously, the status bar, which is kind of your typical things with, your snap and grid and dynamic input, ortho, polar tracking, snapping, and those kinds of things. And of course, if you're working with AutoCAD, you're working in paper space and model space, and you want to make sure that, oh gosh, does it support you know, annotation scales, got to have those. What about, you know, is it got, can I maximize and minimize my viewport? Yeah, sure, no problem. So pretty much the user interface is what you're going to get, is what you would see in AutoCAD. So you're wondering, well, you know, what's the format for this user interface, and can I customize it? Yes, this is just a standard CUI file that you can customize like you can in AutoCAD. We can bring up our CUI customization, and you can see all that. It's a little slow here because Carlson has so many different solutions and stuff in here that it brings up. But you can see in here where you can customize all these different areas of the product, the menus, the toolbar, the ribbon, the contextual ribbon states, quick access toolbar, shortcuts, aliases, double-click actions, what'll happen when you double-click on an entity. It's all here. You can transfer stuff from you know, other CUI files into IntelliCAD, or you can modify things here. So, and you can also merge things. So when there's a new merge feature now, I know some of you have used IntelliCAD before, you've had problems with merging your CUI as you know, maybe have customized your older Carlson product and wanted to bring that in, you can do that. I'm gonna go back here. I'm just gonna go back to the start page, and I wanna just bring up an empty file. I'm just going to scribble a little bit. I'm not actually going to draw anything real, but I just want to scribble a little bit and just kind of show you just drawing some stuff in IntelliCAD. This is all, you know, looks familiar. You can see my dynamic input here working. So I'm just going to draw some lines and a polyline so you can see it, and a circle here. And let's go in, and I'm going to do a polygon. And let's make this 5 sides here. That's fine. Whoops, I just screwed that up. Let's try that again. Polygon, and our sides, I want 5. And there we go. I just didn't pick my point. I'm gonna draw something else. Let's go in, and I want to go in and show you a break line because that's kind of cool. Okay, so these are just kind of standard AutoCAD entities. You can see from our draw menu, we've got all these different types of entities that you're familiar with. All the classic kind of, you know, line, circle, arcs. Oh, I should maybe add some text too, just so you've got something. You can see some M text go in. Just gonna draw some text here. And something else that's kind of cool, the contextual menus. So you can see we've got the contextual menus for objects as well. So that looks familiar. But I wanted to show a couple things where IntelliCAD's a little bit different. So for example here, you'll see with this polygon, there's some additional grips here. So in AutoCAD, when you select a polygon, all you really get is just these corner grips, and it's not really a polygon, it's just a closed polyline. So you can see here, this is a polyline just like it is in AutoCAD, but notice you have these additional properties here. So I can change like the number of sides, I can change the inscribed radius or the circumscribed radius. It actually knows that this is an actual polygon. So here I can go through and I can stretch it by some additional grips that are available. I can rotate it here. It's just a bit smarter of a polygon. And in fact, let's change this now to like a square, right? And so now we even have different grips. Look at this. We have grips that we can drag to actually keep this remaining a square. Or if I take this one, I can turn it into a rectangle, right? It's just a little bit smarter than your average AutoCAD, you know, rectangle or polygon. And then I also want to show similar functionality with the break line, because if you ever, you know, draw with the AutoCAD break line, you know how dumb it is, and it always drives you crazy because you know you're trying to make it work in it. But here with IntelliCAD, we have additional grips on this, and you'll notice it is really just a polyline. It's not a custom object or anything like that. We just, because of the way we draw it and we look at it, we can actually tell what type of object it is, and so we can do some special things with it. Notice here, normally if you're in AutoCAD and you grab this, it doesn't rotate around like that. But notice here, if I come in and I change, I can use these other smart grips to get it to move the way that I want to as a grip, as a brake line. But if I grab one of these other grip points individually, now I've just broken it. It's no longer a brake line anymore. It is just a polyline. And if you would have drawn this in AutoCAD, here's what that grip would do. See how it just comes off of the brake line symbol and doesn't. This is what you would get out of AutoCAD if you had created your brake line in AutoCAD. So there are a few little things that we do that are, I think, are a little bit different in IntelliCAD than what you would see in AutoCAD. And of course, you'll find some little things too that we don't do, and you need to let us know about those when you find them, because I'm sure there's still plenty. Let's take a look at some of the other user interfaces. Here we have our Drawing Explorer that I've brought up, and it's actually currently on the layers element. But there's several different elements that you can see here. This is kind of like the AutoCAD Drawing Center. We can have multiple drawing files here. I can go in and I can look at the different layers that are in this drawing file. I can come over here and I can copy those, and I can bring them over into this drawing file, and I can paste them in here if I want to. So those new layers are now copied over here. Very similar to AutoCAD as far as the user interface goes, because I mean, it's just a layer. It's data that's stored into the drawing file, but there's a few things that we do that I think are a little bit better. Like, for example, materials. If you're working with materials in AutoCAD, you have to go through and use a different interface to add there's like a material attach command that you have to use to attach a material to a layer. But here, it's just part of the Layer Explorer. So you can come in here, you can add materials right into through the Layer Explorer. So this is the Explorer, and then the other thing is that this is a modeless dialog, so we can actually come out here and, we can do other things while this is up. But you may also want to dock it. So we've got a docking feature here. The docking is similar to kind of what you're used to, so you can make it auto hide if you want to. I kind of like to leave it undocked, because what I'll do is I'll just throw it off onto a second monitor, and so I can see it over there while working with IntelliCAD in the main area here. But yeah, as you can see, I mean, things can get kind of cluttered, and everything gets, your drawing area all of a sudden gets really small. So you might want to use something like your clean screen to which kind of remove everything while maybe you work in your drawing area for a while, and then you can come back and restore everything back to the way it was. And whoops, there it goes. And bring that back so you have your full user interface that you want to see while you're looking at it. Let's see here. Let's see, let's draw a few 3D objects and show a little bit about the new visual styles. So I'm just going to erase all this. And we'll just create some 3D objects. So I'm just scribbling here, drawing stuff really quickly because we don't have a lot of time. And let's take a look at these. Okay. So let's take a look at some of the new visual styles. I'm going to move this guy out a little bit so we can see him more clearly, not next to that. So let's take a look at some of our visual styles. We've got conceptual, very similar to AutoCAD, but these are new for IntelliCAD. We haven't had support for some of these visual styles. Realistic, there's no materials that are assigned to this yet, so these all kind of look similar. Sketchy, we've got the X-ray mode. So there's several new visual styles here that are available, which is really kind of cool. And then also, we've made some improvements to just how we handle views. The view manager now, this is modeless and it's dynamic. So as you're making changes in here, it's going to be reflected into the drawing file. You've got a little switch here for that. But this makes it so much easier to work with this. I'll show an example here, like perspective, for example. It's got a nice little slider here, so you can use the slider to sort of set your perspective mode rather than trying to, like enter a number in manually, which is really kind of awkward. So that's kind of a cool feature. But let's jump to a different drawing file to kind of show some materials. I've got one that's sort of pre-started here. So let's just kind of zoom out so we can see what we've got going here. We just have some walls, doors, and windows, and we have just kind of a phase for floor. I've got a light that's here. As you can see, it's got certain types of settings that no color is assigned to it or anything like that yet. And we just have a little chair that we've created here. And let's go and take a look. We maybe want to change some materials here. So I'm going to go over to my Drawing Explorer again. Let's kind of resize this so we can see everything at the same time. And I'm going to go over and check out some of the materials that I have. You can see from the Materials Explorer here that we already have a few materials that are in the drawing file. But I'm going to open this up and I'm going to download or import a few more materials. I want to do some carpet and maybe just a couple different colors of carpet here. Whoops, using the wrong button. Oh, okay, what's it doing here? Did I get those in? Let's try that again. There we go. And I want to get some concrete in there. Let's do a couple of these guys. And I already have several different types of wood. I'm trying to think what other kinds of patterns I could put in. This will be enough for now. So I'm just going to close this up. And now you can see from the Explorer here, I've got a few additional materials that I can work with here. Like if I want to change this floor to carpet now, I could just take this over and just drag it out and I can see a new thing there. And I can go, oh, I like this wood pattern that I had. Where was it? This floor pattern was kind of cool. What would it look like on the chair? I could just drag that over there and see what it's going to look like on the chair now and try it out. Maybe you can check out the concrete or this weird concrete pattern that I put in to try that out. So this is how the new materials work in IntelliCAD. And then also, as I mentioned before, if you look at the layers, you can also assign materials by layer just right in the layer dialog. So notice here the list of layers are available and I can just select stuff and apply it to a whole layer. Or you can select the object and you can also apply the layer through the properties pane, or excuse me, apply the material through the properties pane. So there's a variety of different ways to work with these materials. The Material Explorer is pretty handy to do drag and drop stuff. But typically, I also like to work with layers a lot as well because it's just easier to get everything on the same layer assigned a material. I find that's probably the most effective way to do it. But for demo purposes, the drag and drop looks really cool. But in practicality, I like the layer method better. Let's take a look at the light for just a second. We have, let's go over to our view, and we do have different types of lights and stuff that we can add as well. But I'm just going to come up here and edit this light, and let's go through. Oops, did I get it? I did not get the light. There we go. You can see the cone shape from the light. You can adjust that cone with your grips. Let's move this dialog out of the way. So you can change that with your grips. And then you also have the light intensity that you can change the intensity factor. You can change the color of your light. I'm going to make it red here, which is really ugly. But let's just change it to something that's kind of a warm. I should use something really out of the true color, but I'm going to just be lazy and grab a index color instead. So kind of a warm light. maybe make that a little bit brighter. So this is it. New materials, new rendering functionality, new visual styles in the IntelliCAD engine. We still, we have quite a few materials that are available, but we don't have a material editor yet, so it's just kind of a static set. So we will be working on a material editor for future releases. But we do have a pretty good set of materials that are available now. But would be great to get feedback from users about the materials, additional materials that they need or functionality that they need for this. Okay, let's jump to one of the other new areas. I'm gonna flip back to this and let's just erase all this stuff. And we'll go to a plan view. And one of the areas that's new for IntelliCAD is we have IntelliCAD 10 some BIM functionality. So BIM is building information modeling. I don't know how many of you have to or need to work with BIM, but it's a classic situation where you've got a site plan that you're working on, doing some sort of survey work or something, and it's because you need to clear an area for a new building. And how are you going to get that building in? So here we have the ability to import like Revit models or IFC models. So let's go take a look at this. So let's see, where have I got this stuff? BIMSig, Revit demo. And let's do this technical school one. I'll just pick a point here anywhere. We'll get that working. So yeah, it's a classic kind of scenario. You working on a site, and you've got to clear space for where this new building is going in, and the architect says, well, yeah, I have a Revit file, and you're like, well, I have a DWG editor. How am I supposed to get a Revit file into a DWG editor, right? I can't do that. You can't do that with AutoCAD. They want you to buy Revit. So you can export DWG files from Revit. So here what we've just done is we just imported a Revit model into IntelliCAD. So let's turn this visual style a little bit different here. Go back to my view. And let's just do the wireframe so you can see the complexity of this model. You see all the stairways, there's furniture in here, all the curtain walls, doors and windows and all that stuff. And so this gives you the ability to bring these buildings in for doing your survey work, which is, that way you don't have to depend upon the architect or whoever's working on the Revit file to actually send you the thing that you need. But like in this case, you look at the drawing and you think, oh, well, it's already got this stuff on it that the architect did some sort of civil work already. We don't want to see that. So we can just go over to our trusty BIM properties pane here, and we can select this guy, and all of a sudden all these properties, these categories, hierarchies, there's all these different ways you can control visibility. There's not really layers in Revit, but there's other ways that you can control visibility. So we can kind of come down here and say, oh, I don't want to see the parking, I don't want to see the plants, I don't want to see the topography. So we can just kind of turn those things off. So now all we see is the building, which is just what we want to see. And we can use that within our site survey work to actually make sure we get it set up to where the building is going to be located and parking and all that stuff. Now, this is, let's go back. I'm just going to erase this and start over. Let's go back to plan view. And what I want to show now is similar. We're going to go back and do another BIM import, or excuse me, a BIM underlay. But this time, you'll notice that it's not just Revit files, but it's also Revit family files, and it's also IFC files. So I don't know all of you are familiar with IFC, but IFC is Industry Foundation Classes, and it's from Building Smart. And Building Smart is, it's like an interoperable file format for AEC data. And so let's say your architect is working with something like Archicad or Tekla or some other architectural CAD application. Almost all of those CAD applications are going to have the ability to do an IFC export. And with IntelliCAD, you can also do an IFC underlay. So we'll go ahead and here, this is an IFC file now of a building. And we can display this. Let's go ahead and take a look at this from, we can do conceptual, is kind of cool, or realistic mode. Now, the IFC model it's a completely different file format than Revit. I mean, the results look similar because, you know, that's still architectural objects. But when I click on this and I look at it in the BIM pane, I'm going to see different kinds of things in the BIM pane than I might see with the Revit model. But I still, excuse me, I still have the ability here to control my layers and or my categories and things like that to turn things on and off with the BIM pane, even though they're different different model types, different drawing types, different formats. Okay, let's take a look at when we talk about BIM stuff. I think it also would be good to, let me just go back to a plan view here. Whoops, wrong command. I'm just typing stuff in here rather than, and let's change this over to wireframe just so we can kind of see a little clearer what's going on here. Now, we also in IntelliCAD 10 have included, like, let's say we've included some tools for creating AEC drawings as well, just directly. And these things like walls, doors, windows, stairs, railings, some steel, stuff like that. So that you can actually, if you need to school that architect yourself, you know, and actually draw something, you can kind of do that. If you want to figure out if that new file cabinet you bought is going to fit actually in your, you know, in your office layout, you can, you know, lay out your office and see how that new file cabinet is going to fit, stuff like that. So let's take a look at some of the tools that we have for that. Now this is kind of unusual because these tools are, you know, they're for just drawing new things, but you can also kind of use these in conjunction with the IFC and the Revit underlays. So for example, I'm going to come in here, I'm just going to make an elevation of this building. And well, my bubbles are too big, but that's just a dim scale problem. But I'm just going to say no here. And I'll do an insertion point over here. And so now it's actually creating an elevation from this 3D model, okay, for us. So I use the elevation tool for these, for drawing with these tools, and it also works for the models that are imported from IFC and Revit. Let's just do a section through here. Okay. Okay, so we just cut a section through there as well. So it's pretty cool what you can do with these. Now again, we can't edit this directly. It's like an underlay, right? So, but we can explode it, and when we can explode this into, it'll be like meshes and basic shapes. It loses all of its intelligence. So you know, you'll be able to look at it and see that it's a window or whatever, but it's no longer an IFC object. You can see now as I move into 3D that these are all flat 2D. And these are dynamic views. So like if I come in here actually and I change this view here, let's say I make this, shorten this up, it's gonna update this view to just show that part that has been cut there. So this part's been cut off, so it updates the view to show that correctly. Let's see, what else let's go back to a plan view, and I keep getting the wrong command there. I still like to type stuff. Like I said, I'm old school. Some things I type, some things I get from the menus. Let's just erase this, and we'll do a little bit of scribbling. How are we doing for time? Not too bad. Let's see, I still want to show roofs and DGN and backgrounds. I still got a few things to show here. I'll try to keep it within an hour. So let's just scribble here a little bit again. I just want to show some of the AEC objects, kind of how they work. So I'm just going to, draw some walls here. Notice as I'm drawing the walls, these are automatically doing the intersection cleanups. Got a lot of different types of doors, single doors, double doors, uneven doors, bifold, revolving, overhead. Any type of door you can think of will be in here, and to add them, you just grab it, select a wall, plop it on there. Once the door is in, you have all your different types of grips that can control your swing, and you've got properties where you can set the width. So if I want to change that to 2'6", whatever, I can do that. I've got grips where I can grip and move it on the wall. I can stretch it on the wall, whatever, they're all there. Same with windows, a lot of different types of windows: glider, single hung, awning, hopper, casement, pivot, curtain wall. There's different shaped windows. So again, you just grab the window that you want, select it on the wall, place it where you want it. It automatically gets placed, and as it goes in, it's automatically going to do the intersection cleanup and take care of, or like excuse me, not the intersection cleanup, but the wall cleanup. If you remove a door, for example, the wall gets healed. You undo that, the wall comes back. If you look at this, you think, oh, it's only 2D, but no, it's all in 3D as well. So it's all there. Let's go back to a plan view. But in plan view, notice you have a nice clean plan view where you're not seeing the header lines and everything in there for the doors, and so you get a nice representation of what it should look like in 2D. Let's go on to some other object types here. So let's take a look at like some stairs. Pretty tough to draw a stair, challenging here. We've got our spiral stair, which yeah, if you have to try to draw this kind of thing yourself, it's a nightmare. You've got your different types of landings that you can deal with. So yeah, looks cool. Now, when you select one of these, there's tons of properties that show up that allow you to make a bunch of different changes in the properties panel here, for all these different types. And again, these, when you flip your view, these are going to show up in 3D. So not only is creating the 2D, but the 3D version of these as well. But when you go to plan view, you have that nice 2D representation of these objects. So variety of different types of stairs that you can work with. And there's also different types of stair styles that you can use in 3D, like wood housing, steel stairs, concrete ramps, different types of cantilever. So a variety of different types of stair styles. Handrails, you actually really have to draw these in 3D to really see what's going on there. So let's just come over here and actually kind of tilt that up a little bit more and grab one of these guys, like say this guy here. And you can see this goes real quick. It's a nice 3D handrail. Again, that'll convert to 2D for you as well. Look at that in a different style. So for conceptual, let's go back to our 2D wireframe. You can also do some interesting things with these, like if I create a polyline and I just go, oh, I want to see this handrail, it's going to look something like that. And can go back to our draw. And let's do this as a guardrail. Oh, that's not a good example. Let's go. Oh, yeah, that's okay. Well, we'll do, we've got to do something different. Let's just use a guardrail. And I'm going to say down here, I can say convert. You can see it there. And just select my polyline and then just go through. So erase layout elements, yes. And oh, did I not hit return there? Return, there it goes. And it applies that handrail to the polyline. You can also do this with walls. You can convert a polyline into a curved polyline into a curved wall. There's also, oh, like where do we have the curtain walls? I think that's here where you can draw curtain walls as well. And you can apply those to a curve. What else? Let's take a look at the steel shapes. They're kind of cool. Every once in a while, somebody has to do a little bit of detailing. And one of the things I showed earlier with like working with the polygons, when you can stretch the polygons around like that, like a rectangle, you can rotate it, and all the stuff with grips. Oh, that makes life with detailing so much easier. Here we've got a lot of different steel shapes. So you can show them in metric or imperial sizes. So we've got channels, angles, miscellaneous channels, tubing, S shapes, pipe, and these are pretty basic. So you've got all the sizing and information here that's actually in this dialog, which is kind of helpful. But you just double click on it, it drops your shape in there for you, and you can just rotate it around, and it's then built to that specification. Now, these are actual, they're custom objects, so they're a little bit smarter than your average polyline. So if I come in and I start to drag this, notice the tooltip that's on my cursor. What this is doing is this is dragging, is changing that to match the data that's in that spreadsheet where this thing came from. Okay, so it's not saying, well, you can just make some random piece of steel here. It's got to follow what I can buy, and so it's just dynamically changing here to match the sizes that are available. That's what that's doing. And then you can also see in the properties pane, there'll be other information about this, the steel as far as the flange sizes and web thickness and stuff like that. These are, like I said, it is a custom object, so it's a beam or object, but you can explode this, just be a dumb polyline if you want it to be, but you can still trim and extend to it and all that kinds of stuff. And then also, you can draw these in 3D too, so which I didn't show. Let's grab something a little bit bigger. So yeah, okay. So before I just did it in 2D, but but I can make it in 3D as well. Let's change our view again and just look at that in conceptual so you can see it. And then there's also other little detailing shapes in there as well. So some wood shapes, joists and things like that. Like I said, and then some basic like steel studs. We have some companies that we work with like FrameCAD and others that use these kinds of steel profiles quite a bit. How are we doing for time? Jennifer, can I go over a little bit or?
Hey, yeah, sorry, I had myself muted. We've still got everybody on. Looks like Lynn has answered a question or two.
Okay, let me, I just wanted to like draw a roof and maybe look at DGN. So just if you give me a couple more minutes, I'll got a couple more things to show here. So let's just load up this floor plan, and a couple things. I just wanted to show the combination of, I was going to take a minute to bring this in. So I'm going to erase this, and I'm going to erase this guy here too. And I just wanted to show dynamic input with AEC objects because it's just really, really nice. So here when I go to insert a door, right, I can quickly adjust this so I can see that that door now is centered in between the two walls. See how the dimensions are working with us here? So I can quickly lay that in there. And then when I go to put in a window, now here it's kind of easy because that's just the length of the wall, right? I mean, that's like, okay, well, just kind of, but now we've got a different situation here where we've got the length from the wall, but then also how about the distance from the door, right? So you got even more stuff that's involved here that it's got to try to figure out with the dynamic input. AutoCAD doesn't do this. It's not their dynamic input is just not this smart with these AEC objects where you see all the correct dimensions that you need to actually lay stuff in the way you want to do it. Let's take a look. Show real quickly. Let's see here. We've got, this is a little bit different. So I'm going to open up a drawing file here, and there's kind of something special that just happened that you probably didn't notice. We'll just zoom down in here real quick. And looks just like any kind of drawing that you would normally see. And we've got some, menus and stuff that came up. I'm gonna turn off my menu bar there. And I can, select things and do stuff. But what's different here is that this actually is a DGN file. This isn't a DWG file. This is a MicroStation DGN file that we just loaded in IntelliCAD as a native DGN file. Now, there's a reduced tool set because not all of the features that we have actually work in DGN, and DGN files are different. We do have, like for the properties pane that shows up here, but for example, DGN color palette is completely different than it is in DWG. So you're going to see some different things that happen. Different types of entities are available in DGN than what you would see in DWG. But for the most part, you're going to get the type of look and feel that you would as if you were working on this in a DWG file. There are some, for DGN users, that they will find there's some interesting functionality. Like for example, the selection filter. This is a big DGN feature that we've moved over to IntelliCAD. Notice here I can click on this and it's actually filtering out things by color, or I can filter things out by layer or object type, and I can pull these into the properties pane and make some changes there within the properties pane. So these are kind of DGN features that you're seeing with the color palette and but this actually also, this selection filter works in the DWG version of IntelliCAD.